So Scott, if you want to, if you tell us a little bit about that, if you want to, tell us a little bit about that particular song and what it's all about.
Well, first of all, I got to say, man, I knew that you were going to be drawn to number 2 and number 8 because you and I share an affinity and a love for the blues. I mean, when you said 2 and 8, I thought, yep, I knew it. And, man, we haven't talked in a long time, but I still knew. That song is called Crawl. And, man, I don't know. I think I wanted to all my songs on this particular record, everything pretty much, with the exception of Blue Lounge, number 8, it started off with a melody that I was hearing in my head. And then Crawl was an attempt, I think, to combine blues, kind of churchy gospel blues kind of feeling with a swampy 3/4 time feel. Something accessible, but that had really interesting harmonies. It's actually a pretty detailed tune. It goes through several different keys, and but it seems to be something that people that maybe don't listen to a lot of hardcore jazz can relate to, because there's other stuff on this record, Night Visions, that is a lot more esoteric and that probably wouldn't reach people who don't make a habit of listening to more challenging jazz. I mean, I love the blues, and that's really what it's about. It's about the blues.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm glad that you're a fan of the blues and roots music, and a lot of, and all the great sounds. I mean, you've worked with some amazing musicians. Like you said, you mentioned some that are jazz artists, but you've worked with some amazing musicians that cover all kinds of spectrum, and you yourself are just in tune to a lot of the musical kind of sounds. And nothing that Scott Sawyer does surprises me. I'm not going to be surprised if Scott Sawyer doesn't pull out a rap song at some point, because, like I said, you're that kind of have that kind of capability that you can do just about any sound, whether it's like the sounds that we're used to, which is the jazz and blues, or whether it's something more innovative, like, I'm not going to be surprised if I don't look up and see Scott Sawyer performing with a polka band.
Well, the rap hip-hop thing will happen before the polka band, but you know what? Actually, I did play a gig with Melissa Reeves. It was just the two of us, and she did a polka version of Me and Bobby McGee. She just did it off the cuff, and I just had to follow her. And it was one of the more insane moments of my performing career, but also probably one of the highlights. It was 2 hours of follow the leader.
Well, that could be some of the best music. I've often said that one of the things that I would like to see done, and I actually mentioned this to Joe Newberry one time, is I think that you talked about the innovative nature of the music scene here in North Carolina, and I think that that's across the board. I think that you can't name an art form, whether it's Irish jig, polka, blues, jazz, hip-hop, the list goes on, that we don't have somebody that's gospel that you've mentioned earlier, that we don't have somebody that is known definitely regionally, if not nationally and internationally. And I was telling Joe Newberry at an event that I saw him at, it's actually something that his wife was helping put together over there at the Marriott, that I thought that at some point, and this was before the pandemic and everything, that we should get the Carolina Theater or the Hayti and just basically have like a jam session where you bring in all these musicians of these different styles, and then it becomes, like you said, a follow the leader thing, where it becomes a mix-up kind of session where you might wind up getting, say, the lady from Midtown Dickens performing with Pierce Phelan, or the members of Megaphon performing with, like, the Mighty Gospel Inspirations.
Oh, I'm totally into that, man. On my last record, Dreamers, I wrote a song for Tony Williamson, the great mandolin player from North Carolina, called Tony Speaks. And I've performed with him at the North Carolina Museum of Art. I'm all about cross-genre or even cross-discipline collaborations. It's what keeps me, hopefully, it keeps me feeling like I'm fresh and moving forward. I don't want to stay in the same place. That's the whole point for me of being an artist, is to constantly learn and evolve.
And you've been doing a great job of that on a regular basis. I want to bring Kenyatta into the conversation. Kenyatta is a artist out of the California area. So, Kenyatta, are you there with us?
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing good. Now, JRob was telling us that you're actually involved in the arts as well. You've been doing some work, I believe, in the acting field. Now, are you doing just acting, or are you doing acting, singing? Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you've gotten involved in the arts. Like I said, we've got Scott Sawyer, who's a seasoned artist here in the area, and I say that with utmost respect, being that I'm also seasoned, being 57 and all. We won't talk about Scott's age. He may be a little bit above me. He may be younger, but we'll just leave that to people's imagination. But tell us about your involvement in the arts and how you got involved with BDD Entertainment and what y'all are all about.
Yes. I have been doing it since I was a little girl. I've been singing, acting, doing everything. I mean, I just love to do it, and BDD Entertainment, I've been with them, for probably a year now, close in that area. But we're working on projects and stuff like that.
And what are some of the things that you would like to know in terms of hearing from a seasoned artist? What kind of advice are you looking for? Because I know one thing we have is we love to let people know that are beginning to start off, get advice from those that have been doing it for a while. So if you were to ask somebody that had been doing it for a while, what kind of questions would you have for a seasoned artist like Scott?
What I would be asking is, what is the road that I would be taking just to try to make it? You get what I'm saying? Just making it. What would be my first step?
Well, the first step, I don't know. I'm not sure what the first step is, but I can tell you that if you're honest about what you're trying to put across, and you believe in it, then I think you'll be okay in the end. I had more than a few people suggest things to me early on that instead of doing what I was trying to do, that I should consider doing this or that. And I think we have to be truthful in our work, in our art, and express ourselves as honestly as we can. And I think we just have to do it and not worry about how it's going to be perceived. That's my advice to any artist.
And what do you tell people that are... Yeah, that's great advice, Scott. And what do you tell folks that have to deal with those doubters? Because like I said, you talked about early in your career that there were doubters, and I know that a lot of times, I don't care what the field is, you have those people that are want to try to doubt and try to throw, for lack of a better term, shade on what you're doing. So how did you cope with that in the early part of your careers? And I imagine that you even have to deal with that even in the part of your career that you're in now, because I don't think doubters ever leave. I think that they stay in our careers no matter whether we're in the first year of a career or the 55th year of a career.
Yeah, well, again, one good thing about getting older is you get to a point where I care about reaching people, but if somebody doesn't particularly like what I'm doing, much less love it, I don't take that personally anymore. I think I took it personally maybe when I was in my 20s and early 30s, but then I realized that I don't like everything that I do. I mean, there's some performances, or I'll go out and play a show and I don't feel like it's a great show, but there's always another show. There's always another recording. So I don't worry too much about what other people think. It's nice when your peers tell you that they like what you're doing, but in the end, I just try to think about what I'm trying to do, and I try to put it out there with as cleanly and as honestly as I can. As I get older, I'm concerned with trimming the fat, meaning the music that I'm putting out there, I'm trying to make every note count. I mean, I don't think that's attainable all the time, but I think it's just you just have to believe in what you're doing, and you have to be honest and do it.
Yeah, that's very true. You definitely have to do that on a regular basis and do things of that nature. Kenyatta, if you're still there, where can folks hear your music? And tell us a little bit about just your own sound. If you had to describe your sound, how would you describe it? What is the sound like? Who would you compare yourself to? And is there anybody that is your inspirations?
I would, if I had to compare myself, I would say I'm like a Whitney and a Toni Braxton.
So it's kind of that more modern kind of pop sound and everything, very similar to what Whitney was all about when she was living and what Toni Braxton has and things of that nature. And are you playing mostly in the L.A. area, or are there certain clubs that you're playing? I mean, kind of like we were talking about with Scott, can't do but so much right now because everybody around the country is under lockdown pretty much.
Right. No, I don't live in California. I just have a California number because I know that's where I want to go. I'm wanting to go to California. I actually live in North Carolina. And
where in North Carolina? I said, where in North Carolina are you? Lenore. Okay.
Lenore.
And you say California is like your desired place to go. Why California versus New York? Because I know a lot of people think of New York as being more of a music capital if you're going to go outside the area. But like we've been talking about with Scott, North Carolina has a rich music scene as well.
Right. And the reason I would want to go to California because that's where I've always wanted to go, and I just love it there. And, I want to make movies there, music, and different kind of things.
So you don't want to be just one-dimensional in terms of your art. You want to go into a variety of styles of entertainment.
Yes, have different styles, not just music and not just acting, like different types of things. And then I would like to go to Atlanta as well, because down there is where they do good movies and stuff like that.
Yep, Tyler has definitely made a big name for folks down there in Atlanta, as well as other filmmakers and, of course, the musicians that are down there doing some amazing work. Scott, have you had the opportunity of doing, because I can't remember all the great things you've done. Definitely I remember the music that you've done, but have you had the opportunity of doing anything? I think I read somewhere that you had done something with both TV and film in terms of scores. Did you do that, and how did that come about?
Well, I didn't do any scoring. There was a movie called Once Around that was directed by I'm not sure how you say his name. Okay, Lasse Hallström. And it starred Danny Aiello and Holly Hunter and Richard Dreyfuss, and part of it was filmed in Durham. And I got a call to record The Glory of Love with Danny Aiello for it's one of the opening scenes in the movie where he's one of his daughters is getting married, and he picks up a guitar and sings The Glory of Love. And it's actually me playing guitar, but I had to show him how to fake playing a guitar. So that's I've done some stuff for like independent films, but it's been like local regional stuff. I can't even remember specifically what they are because it's been a long time.
Is that something that as you're exploring even more things for yourself, even in this part of your career, is that something that you would like to do more of, or are you just content with trying to get these sounds out? And you actually mentioned something earlier, which is the fact that you thought that you wanted to bring your next album out in LP form. And a lot of folks have thought that LPs had gone the way of the dinosaur, but it seems to me that you're saying that they're making a comeback.
Well, that's what I'm hearing. I have a younger brother who's a huge music fan, and in fact, he indirectly hooked me up with Oteil and Kofi Burbridge. They played on a record of mine called Go There, and he wanted to actually pay for 100 copies of Night Visions, but it was so much money. I just said, man, let's not do it. Let's just save the money for another project. But no, I think vinyl's coming back. I think vinyl and high-res downloads are probably the way things are moving. So